Nice. Looks like I got the timer and the stream started at about the same time. So the timer is actually going to be pretty reflective of how long I have been streaming. So let's send that out. Nice. Just don't get in my own head about it. That's all well and good. What's up? What is up with it? Another kind of, well, I'm not going to say miserable day. I mean, it's fine, I guess. Uh, it's cloudy, so I've been like I've felt like heavy and off balance. Don't worry, I'll sign my my permission slip. Ah, yes, that. We'll talk about that in a sec. Let me get warmed up a little bit. Now, I thought I didn't see, last time when I mentioned that there were Texas Democrats that had caved and that were coming back to Texas, that were going back to Texas uh, to the state house, particularly. I did not know about some of the things that were happening yet. I didn't know about some of that stuff yet. So I just kind of left it at like, oh, Dems fucking caved. What did we expect? Hello, Dird 313. I assume that you are somebody who's been on my channel before because I don't see the first time chat message. So welcome back. Yeah, let me just get right to it. The Dems went back to Texas. The Texas Democrats actually left the state to prevent a quorum from happening. It's some procedural shit where that needs to happen in order for the long time ago. Ah, okay. What's up, Real Cryoraptor? Yeah, so a quorum would be necessary for the Republicans to be able to do what they want, which is gerrymander Texas basically to hell and back. The Democrats still have some power in Texas. That is to say, they hold some legislative seats. They hold some in both the state legislature and the federal legislature. For those of you not familiar, the districts for federal office are decided at the state level. The federal government doesn't draw the lines of the constituencies that federal politicians represent. For example, congresspeople, U.S. congresspeople from Texas, their districts are drawn by the Texas state government. The state representatives and I think senators in Texas draw those lines, and then that determines the federal representation and the state representation. The state draws all the maps for people in Texas. Off-topic question before we begin. Why do Holocaust deniers deny the Holocaust? They hate Jews and are pro-Nazi. Why don't they just own it and go, yeah, the Jews and Soviets deserve it, instead of trying to say it never happened? It's always confused me. Well, because that's the underlying position. The reason that Holocaust denial exists is for two reasons. Number one, it is a weaponized form of the just world fallacy, where the Holocaust is an act or a set of acts so evil that there's a natural tendency to not want to believe it. Such was the case sometime in certain instances when the pictures started flowing out of the death camps. Your natural inclination when confronted with horrors sometimes is to not want to believe it. You go into a state of denial. That is being weaponized to serve the other real end, which is to basically say that the Jews are a bunch of liars and whatever, and they made it all up. That is the end state of Holocaust denialism. The underlying position is not that the Holocaust didn't happen, but rather that it should have happened. But they sort of use the denial of it to insinuate the second part, right? Because just skipping to that part where you say that, oh yeah, the Jews deserved it, is like, it is not politically effective for the objectives of Nazis, right? I see it further vilifies the targeted groups. Yes. By claiming that a set of atrocities that befell minorities doesn't exist, you get to then levy the blame for those said atrocities to the minorities for like, I don't know, making it up or some shit. Uh, yeah. That's why Nazis do that. And frequently, nowadays I feel like they're more comfortable at least hinting at the second part of it, which is that, like, you know, the Jews deserved it or something. I don't see a lot of Holocaust denialism so much anymore, as I see people just like, I don't know, having an anime profile pic with like 1488 in their name or something. It's truly a different world. Um, but yeah, the Democrats came back to Texas because they're pussies who don't believe in anything, and they like, I don't know, they were like, well, we have important legislative business to attend to. Our constituents are counting on us. Which is why they fucking left the state in the first place. And they immediately got their cheeks clapped, politically speaking. Let's look at the tweets. Liberals are the first line of defense against communism. That is true. Okay. You might have heard a little bit of audio there. Representative Collier, I don't remember her first name. I don't know if she left or if she had come back. I don't know if she was one of the Democrats that left the state or if she was still there. She's being held hostage by the Republican Party. Let's have a listen.
So let's bring in State Representative Nicole Collier.
Nicole Collier, there we go.
She can describe what's happening. So State Representative Collier, you're there right now on the Texas House floor.
This is from Midas Touch News.
You are locked there. They have locked you in there and saying they're not letting you leave until you basically sign a permission slip. Can you tell us what's going on? What's happening right
now? So he actually kind of gave the long and the short of it. She's in the legislature building right now. This is the Texas House of Representatives or House of Delegates, whatever the fuck they call it down there. And they are holding her there. They've said you're not allowed to leave unless you sign a fucking permission slip. And the question I gotta ask is, like, how and why? Well, like, I know why, right? It's because they hate you. They hate their political opposition. They hate black women too, but that's not as directly germane to this. They're just holding her hostage so they can get their own agendas passed. And I think the more important question is, like, how? Like, she is just a politician. She hasn't done anything out of the ordinary. Like, there's no legal authority on which to do this. She can just leave. Like, they're holding her hostage because they've said, like, yeah, Sergeant at Arms, don't let her leave, which makes the Sergeant at Arms complicit in this. There's no legal grounds on which to hold her here. She's allowed to just leave. She didn't have to sign a permission slip or nothing.
Well,
and yeah, the permission slip, apparently, the permission slip is like, yeah, you have to sign this piece of paper that allows the fucking cops to surveil you and follow you around for 3 weeks if you leave the building. And I mean, leave the building. She's not even, like, they're not even letting her go home. Again, on no legal authority. She can just leave. Like, just fucking call up some fucking people on Twitter. Be like, hey, does anybody have experience in the area working private security? I need some, like, really muscular, intimidating looking people to protect me as I walk the fuck out of this building right now because the Republicans are absolutely insane and they're holding me hostage. They have no legal authority to do this, so you would have more legal authority than them to exercise force if they try to keep me here.
The explanation that you provided is very accurate.
Like, that would be the correct course of action. Like, fuck you.
Today, the quorum was restored. The speaker announced that.
And yeah, the quorum was restored here. So the Republicans are getting, like, This is the end to which they're doing this. They want to restore the quorum so they can legislate the Democrats out of power entirely. And the Democrats are fucking caving to it.
Those who had left the state for breaking quorum would be required to sign a permission slip agreeing to be released into the custody of DPS so that they can ensure the return of those members so that they can have a quorum on Wednesday to pass those racist maps.
Like, why? On whose authority? On whose authority? Who is like saying you have to sign this permission slip? Why are you being like, why do they have to be released into the custody of DPS? Why? What for what purpose? I mean, they just said for the quorum. This is insane. Like this is an instance. The Republicans and Democrats in Texas, in the state of Texas, are having the following conversation. The Republicans are saying, hey, we want to write a new set of laws and rules such that you never get allowed in power again. You will never be allowed in office again. We want you to no longer have any institutional power or connections in the state ever again. Come help us do that. And the Democrats initially were like, fuck no, we're leaving. We're breaking the quorum. And the Republicans were like, no, come back. They like literally, they have no authority to like pursue them out of state. As long as the Democrats aren't there, the quorum can't fucking happen. They have all of the political resources on their side in this. And the Republicans just for a couple weeks whined and complained about, no, come back so we can legislate you out of power, so we can have all the uncontested power for ourselves. And they threw a fucking hissy fit. And the Democrats said, okay, fine, we'll come back. These motherfuckers whined and bitched and cry-bullied about, no, let us do fascism and authoritarianism, and the Democrats said, okay. Even like acknowledging any sort of legitimacy to these permission slips is functionally you saying, okay, you can just do what you want. Like, okay, you win. I'm not even gonna fight.
I just refuse to sign this piece of paper. I'm not a criminal. I'm exercising my First Amendment right to resist in my speech. And so I refuse to sign. And so I was told that I was going to have to stay here on the floor. They have locked the doors.
And they're keeping her hostage. Like she's allowed to just leave. Like by capitulating it in this manner, like the tone with which she's talking about this is so completely dissonant from what's happening. Like legitimately, like yeah, Cryoraptor, as you said, like blink twice if you're fucking being held at gunpoint. March 1938, but Hitler begs the Allies to invade Czechoslovakia instead of just doing it himself. Yeah. Type shit. Like, if this were a normal human being, functional person, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to insult fucking Representative Collier here, but like, a more sane person, somebody who is not as infested rather with the liberal brain rot, would be screeching about, dog, they're holding me hostage. They have no authority to do this. The only reason I can't leave is because they've locked the fucking doors. They locked her in.
The sergeants have been instructed not to allow me to leave until I have a permission slip. Now, since we started, I have been informed that I could go to my office. So I have authority to go to my office or back to the floor as long as I'm escorted by a sergeant, and DPS will be following me.
Dog. This is fucking unhinged. I need to sort of convey the implications of this, I think. I don't know. I mean, I think I've adequately conveyed how insane this situation by itself is. She is being, once again, held hostage in the legislative building. The doors are locked. They are preventing her from leaving. There is no legal authority for them to do this. under the fucking code of the law, whatever the fuck the law says, she's allowed to just leave. But they've locked the doors and they're saying, look, you have to sign this permission slip saying that you will be surveilled by the cops 24/7 for 3 weeks. Like, I think I've adequately conveyed how much that is insane. But do you guys understand the implications of this? If the Democrats are responding in this very calm, underselling tone to almost literally having a gun pointed at their head, the Republicans ordered the sergeant at arms, a cop who is armed, to not let this woman leave. And if the Democrats are letting them do that and getting away with it without like actually mustering any real force that would have more legal authority behind it, mind you, than whatever the fuck the Republicans are getting up to right now. If the Democrats let this go, imagine what the Republicans can do anywhere else in the country. If they can get away with this, and if this is how the Democrats respond when they try this, the Republicans can do literally anything to anyone, anywhere, at any time in this country, and no Democratic state politician like this will lift a finger to stop them. Yeah, it's setting the tone. They're doing this. I feel like the Republicans have done this a couple of times where they do something that they know is like really out there. They try to set the tone for future politics. If we can get away with this now, we lay the groundwork to keep doing it in order to meet our political objectives. Right? And of course, they're banking on the Democrats responding like this, basically. Oh, I need a permission slip to leave, and they're holding me here. You know, I can go to my office, but I'm not allowed to leave the building. Instead of saying, this is a fucking kidnapping, I'm being held against my will at the legislative building. Please, private security, come help me. Jesus fucking Christ. You will have more legal authority than these clowns. I'm being held against my will. There's no law that permits them to do this. But she's speaking in her head, this is probably legal and I just don't know the law. The fucked up part is this woman is a lawyer. She knows the law. And this is illegal. And this is how she's responding. Gamer Jane, welcome to the stream. It's like conservatives have never heard of passive income. It's definitionally the foundation of capitalism. What? I feel like that's not exactly germane to the segment that I'm talking about right now. Nonetheless, welcome. Let's take a look at. I think I had another link for this that I wanted to look at. Okay, this actually, I think, constitutes like a more appropriate response to what is occurring. This is from Senator Roland Gutierrez. That first frame looked like a meme. This one? Yeah, maybe a little bit.
This is the kind of bullshit that's happening right now in the Texas legislature. Dustin Burrows has locked up Nicole Collier because she won't sign some bullshit permission slip to be followed around by a DPS escort. That's a cop following around for the next 3 weeks to make sure that she comes in and votes for this bullshit Donald Trump redistricting bill. What's going on in Texas is absolutely 100% wrong. And locking up members of the legislature because they won't sign your bullshit document, it's just wrong. It's wrong. We need more people up here fighting. We need more people up here fighting alongside State Representative Nicole Collier, who's doing this protest because she must, and we all must. We must fight against Donald Trump and all of this madness that's happening in this country, and fight against his constant grab for power in the United States.
So there are protesters there. We've quantum tunneled the world of the boys or something. I got a breaking news flash for you. Art imitates life. The liberals' reaction is going to be when stuff hits the fan even harder. I don't know. This is more along the lines of what I would well, what I want to see, what I think is necessary to respond to the politics of fucking like unabashed power grabbing and like blatant repression, suppression of the opposition with the police state, you know? This is more like it. Again, what I would say is like, dog, we need some private security up here. Bring private security with you because they can just bust down those doors. Locking a fucking representative in the building, not letting her go home, that's illegal. That's kidnapping. You can arrest every fucking person involved with that. Like, you have the authority to do so. And as a legislator in the state of Texas, as a lawmaker, Nicole Collier or this guy right here, Roland Gutierrez, or any number of people serving in the Texas House of Representatives or House of Delegates has the authority to deputize somebody. You have the authority to say, okay, you, person right there, you have the authority to go arrest that person, and now I'm going to tell you to go arrest that person. That is an authority that they have. God fucking knows that the Republicans have used this to deputize random brown shirts in and induct them into like ICE or some other enforcement agency. These guys have the authority to just pick some private security people with some kind of security training and like beefy ass build and say, look, okay, we are going to rescue Nicole Collier from the fucking captivity she's being held in by the Republicans to pass this insane fucking legislative agenda. You have the authority to go in there and arrest every Republican politician and sergeant at arms that gets in your way to get her out of there. To let her go home and fucking see her family, presumably. Again, this is not as far as I think you need to go, but like, this is actually, it kind of reminds me of like how Sarah McBride reacts to trans issues versus like people who aren't legislators or whatever. It almost feels like these protesters and other lawmakers are reacting more appropriately than Representative Collier and some other Democrats to, well, Representative Nicole Collier being held hostage. Maybe it's a thing of like her just being really tired or being in shock or something like that. Again, I don't want to like extend a ton of undue charitability towards her. I definitely saw some pictures of her where she like had a couple chairs jerry-rigged together and was having to sleep on the floor of the legislature. Seriously, she has to sleep there. Or do that idea you just said because it's chaotic. Yeah, it like forces the hand of the fascists in a way that they're not ready to do. Because remember, fascists are massive fucking pussies. They can only do shit like this because the response of the Democrats is not to do anything. They can only do this because nobody's willing to say, all right, private security, get your ass in there and arrest everybody. Jesus Christ, dude. It like, again, if Republicans get away with this, there's literally nothing that they can't get away with. It's just a matter of what they feel like from that point forward. And if I'm being honest, imagine he said, okay, you're all deputized, now go free her. Yeah, he could do that. Democrats have the authority to do that. The lawmakers have the authority to do that. They could go say like, all right, you're now deputized temporarily as agents of the state of Texas. There's a public servant being held hostage in that building. You have the authority to arrest anybody who gets in your way. I don't know, here's some fucking flex cuffs or zip ties. Haul them down to the police station and like, you know, we'll let the courts take it from there. They can do that. They have don't let any fucking liberal gaslight you into believing otherwise. These legislators have power. They are granted, at least in part, because there's a lot of them. Obviously, this power is divided between them. They have the legal authority of the state behind them. That allows you to do a lot of things. Again, God fucking knows that the Republicans use this power all the time. The difference is, they're willing to use it for evil shit, and the Democrats aren't willing to do anything good with it because it upsets the evil people that pay, you know, like for their campaigns and shit. I'm generalizing, of course. Every Democrat isn't like that. It's just always seems to be enough of them are like that to not let anything good happen. When all these wealthy people granted themselves all this power, they were never thinking about what would happen if anyone used it against them. That's the thing. She's not wealthy. None of these legislators are wealthy. How much was it that Texas legislators get paid? It is not much. OER Tex. State legislators in Texas make $600 a month, or $7,200 a year, plus a per diem set by the Ethics Commission. So usually you would be getting about $38,000 per year. That's how much state politicians earn in Texas. And people who granted the legislators these powers. Oh, okay, yeah. In that case, yes. Also, no, wait. I don't think anybody granted the legislators these powers. I think these powers are baked into the state constitution. Like, these powers have existed for a long fucking time. You know, like kind of like the oversight powers of Congress, right? That's something that, according to the Constitution, Congress is allowed to do. Congress people have literally always had that power to enter whatever federal facility or territory they like. Enrage, welcome to chat, and thank you for the follow from just a while ago. Most of these state politician positions are more like part-time position. They probably have jobs otherwise. Yes, for Texas, that is true. However, for my state in Virginia, that is not the case. Being a politician in Virginia is a full-time job. Republicans are just using social power, nothing legal. Yeah, they are, in a way. Republicans are levying more so social power than... I mean, they're using socio-political power rather than legal power, right? Or rather, they are sort of abusing the law in its effective existence rather than its existence as written on paper, right? I think I've mentioned this on another stream, that legal authority is actually a surprisingly difficult thing to pin down. And the only thing that legal scholars can all agree on universally is that the law is whatever the lawman has the authority to hit you with a stick for engaging in, right? So, if the lawman decides not to hit you with the stick, it's not illegal. The core component of all law and all lawmaking is what will you be punished with legitimized force for doing, and what will you not be punished by legitimized force for doing, right? But again, that's that's profoundly different from what exists in the letter of the law. And the way you establish certain things as law in a colloquial sense is you have to be willing to use the stick when certain rules on paper get violated, right? So Republicans are using social and political power knowing that what they're doing is blatantly illegal, but there is no threat of them being punished for doing it, right? Is it me, or do liberals feel scared for ever using any power? It is not just you. This is a defining characteristic of liberalism. Liberals defer very frequently and so heavily on the abstract authority of institutions that when the authority of those institutions is challenged in any way, they actually don't have an answer for it, right? Again, I'll go back to what I said with all force of law, all authority of law being inherently based on force at some level. The liberals simply believe in the law at such a degree of abstraction that the original threat of force for violating the rules is no longer visible, right? Does that make sense? So it's like, you know, oh, such and such institution works with other such and such institution. This institution has the authority to do this. The cops have the authority to do such and such, but then they don't have a response when the cops don't behave exactly in the same way as what words on paper read. Hydrogen bomb is about to nuke a baby. We need to hear both sides. Yeah, true. Or more likely, they'd be like, wait, that's illegal. Like, their faith in institutions is so absolute that they actually believe that the words on an administrative piece of paper is force enough to stop somebody. That's why liberals write all of these, strongly worded letters and only do, only do like symbolic protest is because they believe simply by virtue of the institutional connection that they have, a symbolic action would be enough. And they don't understand that the authority of institutions comes from their size and ability to compel people by coercion to act in ways that they otherwise wouldn't. Yes, violence is in fact the supreme authority from which all other authority is derived. That, you know, somebody or some group of people can say, do X, Y, and Z, and if you say, no, I will not do X, Y, and Z, they could just hit you until you agree to do X, Y, and Z. You know? That is the bedrock of the state. That is the like, well, not even the state, that is the bedrock of law, right? Republicans understand this a lot better than Democrats. So unfortunately, you get shit like this. Or you can hit them back until you stop them from doing it. Yes, and that's what I'm getting at here. In this case, you have the opportunity because, like, what they've done is they've locked Representative Nicole Collier in the legislative building, right? They are using force to keep her there, even though it is blatantly contrary to what the law dictates you are allowed to use force to do. This guy, and you know, Representative... or actually senator, excuse me, this is a state senator. Senator Roland Gutierrez and his colleagues, Democratic colleagues, would be within their rights and on the correct side of those words on the paper if they used force to break these doors open and rescue her from the captivity that she's being held in. With how spineless liberals are, I'm surprised the Civil War happened. Liberals used to not always be this spineless, because they used to be closer to the left in terms of their political convictions. And the institutions of government, institutions of civil society used to be a lot smaller. The state right now is as big, over-encumbering, and bureaucratic as it has literally ever been in history. It is unprecedented, the size at which bureaucratic institutions exist today. In the Civil War era, in the 1860s, institutions were a hell of a lot smaller. You know? So the degree of abstraction between the actual use of force and the letter of the law and the sort of code of institutions and all of that, like, you know, institutionalism, the rift between those two is much, much greater today than it would have been at the time of the Civil War, right? Imagine being 10 years old in this timeline. Maybe? I mean, I wasn't terribly politically conscious when I was 10 years old, so I was like, I don't know, in fucking 5th grade or something. I was in school. So, yeah, I guess. Wouldn't be that much different, except everybody would have broccoli cuts, be yelling skibbity, and like, I don't know, half the kids in the class would be stupid because there's AI everywhere. And economic collapse is going to happen soon. Yeah, well, economic collapse had already happened when I was 10 years old, so that's not that difficult to imagine. When the housing market crash happened, I was 7 years old. And I was 10 in, like, the immediate aftermath. It's actually insane how many things you see, like, presidential press secretary gets asked about. I wonder lots of times, what does XYZ have to do with the executive branch of government? Most things have a lot to do, like, with the executive branch of government, particularly because of, like, how much power the executive branch of government has seized over the past several decades. You know? And also because, like, that's what I'm getting at. Oh, yeah. But yeah, it is pretty insane just how much executive consolidation of power has happened over the course of the 20th century, particularly. You know, federal government used to be a lot fucking smaller. There used to not be a White House press secretary as recently as the 40s. Can you imagine that? The White House press team was the president. Like, the president would just walk into the room and, like, there wasn't even a press briefing room. They would just, like, meet with journalists. FDR did this. In fact, that's why they established the like office of the press secretary, because there were so many journalists that like FDR had such fucking aura that every single journalist wanted to talk to him. It's some like part of it is by actual necessity as society itself grows, but a lot of it is also just the bureaucracy expanding to meet the needs of the expanding bureaucracy. And I guess it kind of even relates to that video I put out just today about as much about Palestine as about the nature of the state. When you get an increasingly like cumbersome bureaucracy, when you get a state that continually increases in size, and increasingly dwarfing the amount of power that any person or group of people by themselves has to combat that, this is the result. You know, the state consolidating power, thus being more and more willing to use that power against any given person or group of people in more and more egregious ways, knowing that there's nothing that they would be able to, or in this case, willing to do to combat that, to like fight against it. We used to have presidents that could have a normal conversation. Had you told me 20 years ago we would miss Bush or Obama, I do not miss those two presidents. I swear liberals treat the state like it's a god. Yeah, kind of. I mean, it is a statist ideology, right? Liberalism is an ideology that necessarily includes the state, right? Because it includes a degree of hierarchy. But yeah, like you know, again, this is another necessary consequence of the consolidation of the power of the state, especially in the hands of fucking insane right wingers, right? Like the this is only possible because of a number of other micro consolidations or even just regular sized consolidations of power before this, right? As the power gets consolidated further, the far right is going to be more and more and more bold with the kind of things it's willing to do to its political opponents and to minorities. You know, whether it's Palestinians in Gaza or whether it starts to even be the opposition politicians at home. If you're in Texas, please get on this shit like white on rice. Like, please. Legitimately. This is important shit. Shoutouts to Senator Roland Gutierrez for doing more than probably a lot of other Democrats are willing to do. God, especially seeing as like a lot of Dems actually came back. Also, oh yeah, I should mention as well, it's not just Nicole Collier that's now being subject to this. Other Democrats have been forced to have been I guess yeah, actually forced to, because the Republicans are being fucking supported by the sergeant at arms. The sergeant at arms is are complicit in this. Other Democrats have posted pictures of them having like the permission slips and shit. Let me see if I can. Damn autoplay. Let me see if I can find that. Texas. Walk up to him, say, "Deputize me now." Siri is on meth. Certified Siri moment. Yeah. Yeah, that's like that. Like they could just do that. They could just deputize the protesters, be like, "All right, you have the authority to physically remove anybody that gets in your way, so that Representative Collier can go the fuck home and see her family, or potentially go to her other job." You know, like we were talking about earlier. Oftentimes, you know, Texas legislators need more than one job because being a politician in the state of Texas doesn't pay that much. Let's see, where is I'm looking for stuff pertaining to Texas here. Oh, give me latest. From people I follow, maybe. Where are some of these permission slips? I cannot find this. The fuck? Here, let me search media. Let me filter from the media tab with the keyword search of Texas. See if I can find any of those other representatives that have permission slips. You know what? Let me just look that up directly. Texas state reps permission slips. Oh, Gotron, weren't you saying that like you would just tear that shit up in front of their faces earlier? Somebody in chat was saying that. Behold, Texas Democrats tear permission slips imposed by Republican House Speaker. Lawmakers refused to vacate House chamber in protest at surveillance after they left the state over effort to redraw maps. So now they're protesting by not leaving. I don't fucking get the Democrats, dude. Texas Dems are tearing up permission slips they signed. They signed these? Why would you sign these? Why? Oh my god, dude. Democrats are so fucking bad at this. Joining State Representative Nicole Collier ahead of Wednesday's vote on the controversial Texas congressional redistricting maps. One word, social pressure. That's 2 words. And also, I don't buy that. Why is any legislator in Texas a Republican if they aren't wealthy people? I think I've talked about this before, but at the state level, representatives, like legislators and politicians, actually will believe in things. Basically every politician, with some rare exceptions at the federal level, is just a grifter in the pocket of like corporations and shit, and most of them are independently wealthy. At the state level, no, they're more ideologically driven. The Republicans at any state level government are actual sickos. There are a number of state level politicians, state representatives, and senators across the United States, Republicans, that have been arrested on pedophilia charges of like possessing child sex abuse material and like some other heinous shit that I will get demonetized for. You know? I think I remember this discussion. Yes, pedocon theory undefeated. That's why you get people at the state level, representatives and politicians who are Republicans and like not wealthy, right? Because they are earnestly pro pedophilia, like they actually believe that authentically, and they're willing to go to bat for it when they're not getting a massive paycheck to do so. You know? Redeemed stretch? All right, I'll stretch. Then I'm going to continue reading this article. A bunch of noted members of far-right organizations here in the UK have previous pedo charges. Yeah, because that's a necessary component part of far-right ideology, is that you are pro-pedophilia. It's like there's a psychosexual package of right-wing beliefs, and that is like the underlying one of them. It's like absolute sexual dominance over the family unit. In fact, it has a name. The underpinning for this ideology has a name. It's called paterfamilias, where the father has life and death power over the wife and children, and that extends to like sexual power. You know, at the end of the day, that is what all right-wing ideology is contingent upon. That's what all conservatism is at a social level. And that's most visible where they're being ideologically motivated by conservative beliefs rather than like motivated by economic and financial self-interest. That's more abstractly tied to a sort of dominance. Republicans like their power fantasies. They sure do. Like beating up their kids. Yeah, and some of them like doing even worse to their kids than just beating them up. All right, I stretched. Yeah, just catch you having fun. Yeah. That's literally the fucking plot of what is it? The movie Footloose or something, where all of the villains of the movie are conservatives who have a stick up their ass and they're literally against dancing as a concept. The slips are part of a new surveillance protocol set by Texas Republicans in the House chamber. So these are like legislative rules. Here, let me actually didn't realize I wasn't on this. These are like House and Senate rules, which are not laws. Stating Democrats would be granted written permission to leave only after agreeing to be released into the custody of a designated Texas Department of Public Safety officer who would ensure their return to the chamber. The move follows a 2-week quorum break that had delayed Republicans' effort to redraw the state's congressional districts. This is also why priests rape kids so often. Yes, it is. It is the same thing, you know. You know, conveniently, the church in especially in the most conservative iterations, but it's the same through various levels of abstraction elsewhere, you know, demands absolute subservience to God. But conveniently, since God is not real and therefore can't be observed, you know, God is represented by mediators, being the priesthood, the clergy. So in reality, what the church demands is absolute subservience to the clergy in its most religious forms. But that's another discussion about religion and how the contradictions where there are certain people who are religious who aren't really religious because they will when faced with a contradiction they'll pick the one that causes less suffering, and then there are some people that are not as practicing but are clearly very religious in their thinking because they will choose what they believe to be the word of God over that which may be good for earthly consequences or something like that. You know, there's some breakage there. Line with Donald Trump's push to reshape the U.S. House map in his favor before the 2026 midterm elections. Yeah, this is part of a nationwide push by Republicans, both in the federal government and at the state level, to basically redraw the congressional maps so they never lose another election again. Tuesday, Collier chose to remain confined in the Texas House chamber until lawmakers reconvene on Wednesday, refusing to comply with what she condemned as a demeaning protocol. Bro, by accepting it, like, by accepting this on its face, you have already complied with the protocol. By accepting the premise of this protocol, you've already capitulated to it. You can just leave. Like, oh no, you've broken the fucking State House of Representatives protocol? The fuck are they gonna do to you for that? It's not a law. Yeah, they're just being like, it's illegal for Democrats to win. That's their end objective. Collier was among dozens of Democrats who left the state. Okay, so she did leave the state, and then she came back, and they instantly locked her in. See, this is why you don't. This is why when you do something like this, you don't fucking come back until the Republicans give up. Wonder what Democrats are going to do once they have no more power at all. You assume that they are doing anything now. No, like, I don't think they're going to do anything. I mean, I think, if I'm being honest, I feel like this is part of a political death spiral for the Democratic Party. There is theoretically something that you could do to turn the party around and come back for this, but the Democrats have had various opportunities to do so and have refused those opportunities so vehemently that they've been willing to campaign against their own party members to prevent people from turning the party around and taking it in a more activist direction. You know? Maybe they'll get another job. I'm sure like plenty of Democrats will be like, oh, well, I did my best. And then they'll go into consulting or some shit. Because that's all they ever gave a shit about anyways. Unironically, Republicans being insane enough to do this kind of stuff is an indicator that they are not as beholden to the revolving door of politics as Democrats are. This is like DBZ, but if Goku just went, nah, I'd lose, and let Frieza invade Namek and Earth. That's actually a really good analogy. I like that, because it's like he's refusing to fight at all, because he's like, yeah, but I'd probably lose. Just give up on the spot, and then, like, everybody dies. Yeah. Yeah. The media would have a spin on it. Of course they would. So Collier was among dozens of Democrats who left the state for other states to stall these efforts by Republicans to redraw congressional districts in this way. When they returned on Monday, Republicans insisted that Democrats have around-the-clock police escorts to ensure they would not leave again and scuttle Wednesday's planned House vote on a new political map. Again, they can just leave. They're politicians. They are lawmakers. They are allowed to leave. Like, that's the building you work at. You can like, you're allowed to leave. They don't have any legal authority to do this shit, right? And if the cops, if the police escorts comply with the orders from the Republicans to, like, forcibly detain them in the building, then now they're on the wrong side of the law. Collier wouldn't sign what Democrats called the permission slip needed to leave the House chamber, half-page form allowing Department of Public Safety troopers to follow them. She spent Monday night and Tuesday on the House floor, where she set up a live stream while her Democratic colleagues outside had plainclothes officers following them to their offices and homes. There are some Democrats that, like, actually signed the slips. I hate liberals. I hate them. Not your average liberal is unironically so much more closely aligned with my political opinion. Like, your average American liberal, so much more closely aligned with my political opinions and vision for the country than any single, like, liberal politician right now. Like, you ask the average, like, picture the demographic of a left-leaning person in the United States. Very likely to be a liberal, white, upper middle class woman living in the suburbs, right? You ask your average suburban white woman what they think of Trump and the Republicans, they're saying that they would say they want all their heads on a silver platter and to, like, overthrow the government of this country and bring democracy back. That's what the average liberal wants. The liberal politicians, though they may be more representative of liberalism as an ideology, are by no fucking means representatives of the liberals as in a group of people that vote for them. Forgot Republicans have that dog in them, and liberals do not have that dog in them. That is true. Linda Garcia, a Dallas area representative, said she drove 3 hours home from Austin with an officer following her. When she went, oh yeah, by the way, Texas is fucking huge. She drove 3 hours and was still in the state of Texas. When she went grocery shopping, he went down every aisle with her, pretending to shop. Dog, these guys think they're slick. They think they're secret police. Nah, dude. As she spoke to the Associated Press by phone, 2 unmarked cars with officers inside were parked outside her home. It's a weird feeling. The only way to explain the entire process is it's like I'm in a movie. Bro, these people are so fucking politically clueless. It is actually such a black pill to see how politically illiterate the average politician is in this country. Like they're being gang stalked by secret police hired by the opposing political party illegally. And they're like, "Whoa, dude, that's crazy. It's like a movie." They train this way. No one's born this way. Yeah, I mean, no one's born this way. They probably also think they're invincible. I mean, probably, right? Part of the liberal institutionalism, like the nothing ever happens mindset, is kind of part and parcel with institutionalism. It kind of includes like, oh yeah, nothing ever happens to me because I'm a politician. I'm a component part of this institution. Obviously, being a politician means you're exempt from consequences, right? Yeah, I wonder which movie it's like and what that movie was based on, right? If you're being followed by fucking secret police, I wonder, you know, I wonder what aspects of life that art was particularly imitating and why they saw fit to depict it in that way. Trooper assignments ordered by Dustin Burrows, the Republican House Speaker, was another escalation of a redistricting battle that has widened across the country. Trump is pushing Republican state officials to tilt the map for the 2026 midterm elections more in his favor to preserve the GOP's slim House majority, and Democrats nationally have rallied around efforts to retaliate. Jean Wu, the House Minority Leader from Houston, and Vincel Perez, a state representative of El Paso, stayed overnight with Collier, who represents a minority majority district in Fort Worth. When they say this means that like there are more minorities than like white people in the district. On Tuesday, more Democrats returned to the Capitol to tear up the slips they had signed and stay on the House floor, which has a lounge and restrooms for members. Damn, that's crazy. Their cell has a bathroom. Thank you, Guardian. Cassandra Garcia Hernandez, a Dallas area representative, called their protest a slumber party for democracy. Oh my fucking god, dude. A slumber party for democracy. Or you could deputize the protesters and you could go home without signing the permission slip and without being gang stalked by the cops. You could have done something about that. I bet liberals think violence is for barbarians. They do think that, but they are unaware that institutions wreak violence at a administrative scale. You know? It's some they go low, we go high shit. I will never forgive Michelle Obama for that because it was good sloganeering for an objectively shit-ass political strategy. But I'm not going to pretend that she invented that strategy. That was from a JoJo villain. Oh yeah, well, that's from part 5. Think yourself invincible is one of the most dangerous ideologies for yourself. That would have been fucking I forget the name of the guy, but I know his stand is King Crimson. Oh, it's the fat one with the shadow. Okay, no, it's not that guy. It's yes. I don't remember his name either, but I can picture him so clearly. I know who you're talking about. And he was spitting when he said that. We are not criminals, Penny Morales-Shaw, a Houston representative, said. Yeah, look, okay, this is what I mean by capitulating to the framing, right? Saying we're not criminals, like you're even saying the wrong thing here. There's no allegation that you're breaking the law. That's what's so insane about this. There's no legal pretext for this. Insisting, whoa, we haven't broken the law, assumes that Republicans are operating on the assumption that they are enforcing the law, right? It legitimizes the narrative that they are acting legally within the bounds of like socially acceptable legal framework. What you should be saying is like, we're all being fucking held against our will and this is insane, and the Republicans are like criminally authoritarian for this. Literally, we need to arrest them. Like they should be going on offense twice as hard as the Republicans for this. Like, oh, you've decided you're going to arrest the political opposition without legal cause. Well, that's great. Now we can actually arrest all of you and we will have legal cause because you just kidnapped like dozens of people. Collier said having officers shadow her was an attack on her dignity and an attempt to control her movements, which it was, both of these things. Burroughs brushed off Collier's protest. See, this is why you can't just say words. You also have to be willing to go the extra mile here. Saying he was focused on important issues such as providing property tax relief and responding to last month's deadly floods. As somebody pointed out, this quorum has nothing to do with either of those issues. Because they could have introduced a bill to address, I don't know, some sort of tax something or other, or to provide flood relief funding, and neither of those bills were present at the time of this quorum or when Democrats broke the quorum. This is solely about redrawing the district maps. Imagine my shock. A Republican politician is lying through his teeth. Under those rules, until Wednesday's scheduled vote, actually. Statement on Tuesday morning did not mention redistricting. His office did not immediately respond to other Democrats joining Collier. Representative Collier's choice to stay not sign the permission slip is well within her rights under the House rules. See, even the Republicans know that they're full of shit and like they're doing something that's completely illegal because he's not citing the law here. You think Republicans would ever like shy away from an opportunity to scream at the top of their lungs, law and order, law and order? They aren't doing that here. The only reason being they can't. They simply let the Democrats assume the law and order bit, which was not present. Under those rules, until Wednesday's scheduled vote, the chamber's doors are locked and no member can leave without the written permission of the speaker. Law and order for everyone I don't like. Yeah. I mean, law and order, like, it's one of those things that's just something extremely horrid and dystopian that's masquerading as something politically defensible, right? Where when Republicans say law and order, what they mean is the unquestioned and absolute authority of the state, regardless of what a piece of paper with the law on it says. Yeah, the law requires that I put this gun to your head and do whatever the fuck I want with you. Yeah, that is what they mean. To do business on Wednesday, 100 of 150 House members must be present, so that's 2/3. The GOP plan is designed to send 5 additional Republicans from Texas to the U.S. House of Representatives. Right, they're trying to draw the maps so that fewer Democrats have seats in the legislature. In this case, the federal legislature. Texas Democrats returned to Austin after Democrats in California launched an effort to redraw their state's districts to take 5 seats from Republicans. See, this is another thing where Democrats is like, partial credit, but they need to go harder. Republicans have committed basically to, we want to disenfranchise Democrats both as voters and politicians, right? That is their objective. So as the Democrats, you need to be like, okay, if you're playing that game, then we're simply going to disenfranchise you in every state where we have the authority to do so. And then, like, once we have the authority to do this, we're going to ban this practice for everybody so nobody gets to, do this shit again. Right? You have to be willing to play the game until the rules change. What type of training makes a person like this so submissive? That's actually a good question, and it has a kind of multifaceted answer. If I could condense it a little bit, the kind of training that could take an otherwise well-meaning person and make them this bitchy and submissive are two things: donors and consultants. Consultants get paid to be like out of touch lizard people. You know how useless the marketing department is at every major company? Imagine somebody that is just as useless, but their decisions have actual, like, national reverberations and consequences. And these are the people that you actually get punished by the leadership for not listening to them. Right? Which means that you're not allowed to do anything with the power that you have unless you listen to these people who are feeding you terrible ideas of unimaginative political abstemiousness all the fucking time. How do you not become a psychopath from that? You leave the party, or you leave politics in that sort of sense, or you just don't listen to them, and you basically run a gamble with the leadership that you kind of assume they're just as toothless and won't punish you. There are a few politicians that have made that jump. Bernie Sanders, obviously being an independent, does not have to listen to the Democratic leadership or consultants. That's how he's remained principled all this time. They literally don't have, because he's not a member of the Democratic Party, they don't have the authority to discipline him like they would an internal party member. Right? And Zoran Mamdani, being a Democrat, was just smart enough to be like, nah, fuck all of you. I believe in something first and foremost. The Democratic label is just window dressing. And the Democratic Party fucking hates him for it, but he's, his popularity hasn't slipped. His chance of winning an election has not slipped even remotely. That's what's going on here. GOP plan is denied. Okay, yeah. The Democrats also said they were returning because they expect to challenge the new maps in court. This might work, but it also might not. And regardless of whether it works or not, nobody's going to be paying attention to it by the time that the court rules on it. Another flaw with the liberal worldview and ideology is that they always go to the courts for this shit, and they insist that that is the end-all be-all of challenging this sort of stuff. Like, yeah, you can use the courts to say, like, this is legal or this is not legal, but, like, you can't just do that every single fucking time. Right? The courts are final. So if you lose there, you actually fucking lose. It is the only way that Democrats are familiar with and willing to fight. And it is also coincidentally the least effective way to combat this. Reminds me of that one stupid ad where their catchphrase was "see you in court." Yeah, that's why, like, people throw around "see you in court" because it's a nothing threat. Republicans issued civil arrest warrants to bring the Democrats back after they left the state on August 3rd. And Greg Abbott, the Republican governor, Governor Hot Wheels, asked the state Supreme Court to oust Wu and several other Democrats from the office, from their offices. Lawmakers also face a fine of $500 for every day they were absent. Yeah. It's going to be so satisfying when liberal ideology perishes. Yeah, I only hope, dude. I think the death of liberal ideology is activism. I think liberal ideology and apathy have grown to resemble each other more and more over the past several decades. Democrats reported different levels of monitoring. Armando Wall, Houston rep, said he was not sure where his police escort was, but there was still heightened police presence in the Capitol, so he felt he was being monitored closely. Some Dems said the officers watching them were friendly. Oh, yeah, you know, you talk to the fucking secret policemen and they like you. Great. When Cheryl Cole, an Austin representative, said in a social media post when she went on her morning walk on Tuesday, the officer following her lost her on the trail, got angry, and threatened to arrest her. For what, dog? Liberals achieved all their goals and it sucks. Yeah, this is what it looks like when you don't have any goals for society, and your only objective is to keep people who have positive goals for society from reaching power. Threatened to arrest her. Jesus Christ. You're the one fucking tailing her outside like stalking her outside the bounds of the law. But you're a cop, so you don't face any accountability, and it's like kind of implicitly legitimized. Yeah, legitimately, I think Democrats need to be more like crazy Twitter lefties. They need to be willing to have legendary crash outs on the Republicans. You know? Like shit, you know, some people have fairly so characterized a lot of Twitter lefties as being overly as engaging in like fantastical political adventurism, where they imagine a big cinematic and climactic revolutionary fight, and then like the left emerges victorious, you know, in that sort of way. Democrats are not adventurous enough. You know, none of them are willing to be the main character. None of them are willing to like go completely, like start completely tweaking out and be like, this is a fucking violation of my rights. I'm being kidnapped. Like, get some private security in here and arrest these motherfuckers because they are breaking every single law that I can think of in this moment. Like, list all the fucking laws that they're breaking. If there were enough, both sides would be better off. Yes, like unironically, this country would be so much fucking better if Democrats in real life were half as crazy as online Marxist-Leninists. And I'm not joking when I say that. I'm done with this article, dude. I'm done with that shit. Again, shout outs to the protesters that are showing up, because that's like the closest thing to actually meaningfully resisting or fighting against the Republicans, like kidnapping other politicians that we're gonna get. But honestly, for what the Democrats had to do to get in this position, that they all came back this week. Nah, I think we're just gonna get like a Texas district map the way that Republicans want it. Like, the Democrats are just gonna cave. They caved this much. Why, you know, the Republicans are sort of testing the waters each step of the way, and each time they find out that they can dip further and further into the water. And like, the Democrats haven't done anything about it. So the Republicans obviously they're gonna keep going. They're gonna go further and further until the Democrats do something. The problem is that Democrats might never do something. Like, there might legitimately be no line that Republicans could cross that would prompt Democrats to respond with any semblance of force on their side. That's why they get so surprised when they get challenged. Yeah, it's kind of like, it does kind of play into that. The Republicans are surprised when they get challenged because they're used to their opponents being liberals, and like, or they're surprised when they get challenged because they're used to their opponents not doing anything. But then they also, like, I want to believe that they sometimes, like, they know how ridiculous the things that they're doing are, and sometimes I feel like they get surprised when they're not challenged because, like, really? You guys aren't doing anything about this? Like, imagine being the Republicans right now. You're thinking about this from a strategic perspective. We just kidnapped all the Democrats. We just kidnapped them. We locked them in the building. We didn't. There's no law that says we can do that. We just locked their asses in the building and said, "Yeah, you have to sign these permission slips in order to leave." And they just bought it. They just went with it. We can just do that? Anyways, I mean, how do I even wrap this up? Texas obviously isn't a democracy. Uh, the more they yell about this, the better, obviously. But like, legit, you fucking deputize some people. Seriously, like you've been kidnapped, and the kidnapper is telling you, not you need a permission slip to leave. The fuck, like, who the fuck do they think they are, right? I don't know, dude. That shit doesn't look good. And I know that the Democrats also have their own redistricting efforts in states like Illinois and California. At least I think Illinois has been one of those states as well. But genuinely, to me, there's a question of whether or not the Democrats will be willing to follow through on that. I feel like it seems like each stage of the Democrats folding, they build in the space to pass the buck to another contingent of Democrats who are like, well, if they don't fold, it's fine that we folded, right? And theoretically that would be correct, except they always fold. They don't fold, they pass it on to the next guy. Next guy folds, they pass it on to the next guy. It's just continually, you know? Imagine if California Democrats locked Republicans in the building and forced them to sign their jobs. Or God, I wish. I mean, the fucking Texas Republicans obviously can just do that to the Democrats. So why can't Democrats just do that to Republicans, right? Like, hey, you can't do, like, what's the worst they could do? Say you can't do that? Like, well, you did it. Jeez. I don't know, man. I'm struggling to find a way to end this segment. Just cut it, I guess. Yeah, but imagine what the reaction would be from the right. That's true. The reaction from the right probably would be what the left, what the Democrats should have done, but like didn't. Or they would just bitch about it. In which case, like, oh, look at little Gabi Jr. Gonna cry. Like, you can just do that. Seriously, up until, like, even up until people forget about this. Like, this pertains to the force of the law. Up to and including the point when the court rules that something is illegal, the only thing that stops you from doing that is somebody coming and stopping you, right? Like, legitimately going on this Andrew Jackson fucking, the court has made their decision, now let them enforce it. But, like, you don't even need to do that because the law is on the Democrats' side here if they decide to deputize randos and remove the sergeant at arms and the Republicans and open the fucking door so that those state representatives can go home. You know? Like, I would do that bit, but I don't need to. Fuck it, end that segment already. I know I said cut it earlier, but, like, seriously, get it out of here. I seriously, I spent a lot longer than I wanted to on that. I'm gonna move on to the next thing then. Truly is the ideology of the legend of Korra. Yeah. So you've mentioned. Oh jeez. Christ. Y'all see the MSNBC rebrand? Hold on, let me look at this. It's pitiful. It's pitiful. It's pathetic. It's so fucking funny. MSNBC to rebrand to MS Now. My source, news, opinion, world. Shit ass branding. MSNBC, the progressive needs to be in extremely fucking heavy air quotes. This show will fucking fire you for being left of center. Case in point, Mehdi Hassan and Joyanne Reed. Cable network owned by NBC Universal is rebranding to MS Now, an acronym that stands for My Source for News, Opinion, and the World. Fucking marketing ass name. First thing I think of is multiple sclerosis now. That's what you get from watching MS Now, actually. Little known fact. Watch MS Now to get multiple sclerosis right the fuck now. Sounds like if I step foot in the building, it would explode. Oh, yeah, because fucking Solid Snake is like, now! And he presses the button, the C4 explodes. That's so true. This rebrand is part of a wider effort by NBCU to create a distinction between the cable networks it plans to spin out and the remaining NBCU parent company. So are they like distancing themselves from MSNBC? And they like, part of that is that rebranding it, I guess? As part of the rebrand, select cable networks that will be spun out into Versant, including CNBC, Golf Channel, Golf Now, MSNBC, and Sports Engine, will all drop the iconic peacock logo that has for decades served as NBCU's logo. Shit-ass branding decision. Like, undeniably a shit-ass branding decision. NBC, ABC, and CBS are, like, nowadays they are private corporations that are, like, basically the same as all the rest. But they used to, it essentially used to be like they were platforms on which other shows aired. Does that make sense? Yeah, like they're destroying their own brand recognition. It's a fucking horrendous idea. But like it used to be, those were the only three channels until I think cable became a thing with cable boxes, recordings, and whatever. You had four channels: ABC, NBC, CBS, and PBS, right? And those channels were literally just channels, right? It like, there would be all sorts of there would be news, there would be sports, there'd be whatever, on that set of airwaves. Right? They used to not be like the actual media company themselves, if that makes sense. It kind of evolved into that over time, I think. And now they're like, yeah, we're just going to destroy all of that shit that we allegedly used to be / represent. I don't know. Peacock is synonymous with NBC Universal, and it is a symbol they've decided to keep within the NBCU family. Versant CEO Mark Lazarus noted in a company-wide memo Monday morning. This gives us the opportunity to chart our own path forward, create distinct brand identities, and establish an independent news organization following the spin. Bro thinks he's him? Bro thinks he has any sort of aura to make this work? More like fucking chart your own path downward. This is going into the shitter instantly. The rebrand represents a larger set of changes for MSNBC as it aims to separate itself from the NBC News broader news gathering operations and develop its own identity. They're making it more right wing. They're trying to push MSNBC even further to the right. Further right than like Joe Scarborough, who by the way was a Republican congressperson before he was a news personality. MSNBC has been hiring for dozens of new positions over the past few months as it prepares to be spun off. You know what? Packwatch, R.I.P. Bozo. Rest in piss, you won't be missed. Get fucked. Who the fuck needs, like, let's be real, nobody was watching NBC, like MSNBC anyways. Everybody was watching Fox. And Zateo, as far as like quality of news coverage, Zateo is miles ahead. Like the Zateo is just so much fucking better. And like Midas Touch. How much money that Tucker Carlson were making an appearance? He might still be a little bit too hot for the for somebody like NBC or MS Now to touch, you know? But they're definitely gonna have somebody with like the same political views. I mean, for shit's sake, you know, look at the kind of people that CNN has on their regular discussion panels, right? MSNBC, so progressive that they fired the only people that were ever progressive on their network. Mehdi Hassan, Joy Reid, and back in the day, many, you know, people might not remember this. Lately, you probably know the Young Turks as a extremely grifty news org, who that like hates homeless people above all else and is on some Red Brown Alliance shit and loves to market themselves as being politically homeless, right? Back in the day, Cenk Uygur was too far left for MSNBC to host. In fact, his whole thing was he hated the influence that businesses and lobbyists and donors had on the political machine, on the political system, and how much politicians would capitulate to moneyed interests, basically the interests of capital, not really put that intellectually, but he got fired for that, and so he started TYT, and of course, his populism kind of had a reactionary bend to it, which became much more evident over time. And eventually TYT started to run into some money troubles because they're trying to afford rent in LA. And so they got some Peter Thiel money and they started moving to the right and kind of exposed how flimsy those convictions were to start with. You know? The young Cenk would hate middle-aged Cenk? Yes. Yes. Younger Cenk. Okay, so there's like, for me, there's like three phases of Cenk. There's young Republican Cenk, who said the N-word and denied the Armenian genocide. There's like kind of like not middle-aged, but like there's immediate post like MSNBC Cenk, like up to the point where they get the Peter Thiel money, right? Who still says the N-word, but acknowledges the Armenian genocide, and is a little confused, but he got the spirit. He would talk about crony capitalism all the fucking time. And then now you have present day Cenk, who, to my knowledge, doesn't say the N-word anymore. That much has changed. But is now has capitulated pretty completely to the Peter Thiel money, is ride or die for Anna, who is really, really fucking obsessive over homeless people, and like, you know, they both have like very, very pronounced reactionary politics, to such an extent that they're now hobnobbing it with fucking Dave Rubin and like guzzling that anti-trans, like trans people in sports fucking propaganda bullshit. But yeah, pretty funny that, you know, NBC's destroying its own brand recognition. I wonder if this is going to be a thing. TERFs, basically? Yes. I honestly, I wonder if this is going to be a thing, because Elon Musk did this to Twitter. When Elon Musk bought Twitter, he changed he rebranded it pretty soon thereafter to X. And it's like just a regular ass Unicode font X. I almost wonder if a similar trend is emerging where companies will start destroying their own brand recognition because it gives the consultants and marketing people some like nice bonuses or in their salaries or their stock options and shit like that. and the company gets driven even further into the ground because and like social trust gets undermined. Believe it or not, you know, the recognizable branding of certain companies in a capitalist political economy actually does contribute to social trust, you know. Even if it's parasocial, very parasocial in its character, if you recognize a certain brand and you know what that brand is, you can sort of trust that that brand is going to be consistent. Does that make sense? Why is the subtext in like 1990s, early 2000s font so outdated? This is just like, I think this font is like fine. This is just, I don't know if this is, I don't think this is Times New Roman. It's like Georgia or some shit. I don't know what font this is, but this font is like pretty inoffensive. Honestly, the worst thing about this is just how inoffensive and bland it looks. If anything, they've tried to make it look too current and modern. Like, let's look at the NBC logo. NBC. This font has not changed since the 1940s. Here, let me open this image. Blandness is what makes it look a bit dated, early 2000s. See, I disagree. Let's take a look at another logo from the early 2000s. Google Chrome logo 2005. This is Google Chrome's logo from 2005. This is what logos used to look like this. A lot of like sheen and shit like that. A lot of sheen, a lot of pop. See, look at how the logo has changed over time. Actually, I can't really... See, that's not a good example how I can show that. Will this image show that? They should have leaned more into the peacock. They should have. See, this font was very popular in the 30s and 40s. This is the same basic logo that they've had since their creation way the fuck back in the day, right? See, look even at Universal Studios too. This is so iconic and recognizable as branding, right? Like this, they've always kept some sort of like image that looked like that, right? But then look at this shit. You know what this looks like? This looks like the fucking Trump Make America Great Again political slogan sign. That's what this looks like. The dark blue, maybe not with this like weird vignette effect around the side. Maybe it's supposed to be like, oh yeah, there's a light in the center, or it's got a spotlight on or something like that. But like the very flat, wide font there, with like, oh, haha, everything has to have an American flag. Do you see what I mean? Somebody who's better versed in graphic design than myself, so somebody who's a professional graphic designer could probably explain what I'm trying to get at much better than I could. But like, look at how logos have changed and sort of been compressed, flattened, simplified, and stripped of like identity and personality to such an extent that the branding is almost different. You know, Chrome, Google Chrome, it is called Chrome because it's Chromium based, but it used to look like it was chromed out. And that was kind of like the play on the word Chrome. You knew what Chrome was, Google Chrome, because it looked like a fucking chrome frisbee or some shit. And it was recognizable like that. I forgot early 2000s logo had a lot of that sheen triple dimension look. Yes. And as cheesy as it was, as much as there's some people who could argue that like the aesthetic has aged poorly, it has character and personality. And the reason I highlight that is not because I want to get all nostalgic and fucking touchy-feely and like fuzzy happy about remembering the fucking early 2000s. No, it's just to express that this is one of the ways in which social trust can deteriorate, right? And this I think contributes to that. In a way. But nonetheless, it is really funny to watch a company that I fucking hate destroy its branding in real time. That's really funny. You know? I guess it does follow sort of the model of enshittification. Why have a cool, really fucking iconic logo, you know, that people will recognize for generations in either direction, when instead you could pay some marketing fucks and like consultants millions of dollars one time to completely destroy your company's visual artistic legacy. Now logos have become very two-dimensional, yeah. Pepsi logo is another example, one that significantly enshittified in the 2010s. Let me look at that. Pepsi logo over time. Oh my god, you're right. Holy shit, look at this. 1898. This is back when they were still putting cocaine in that shit, by the way. It's like you could tell how evil a logo is by how basic it looks. Yeah, kind of. Then you go over time, you have Pepsi Cola. Pepsi Cola. You get that like red, white, blue, and it's got like the swish. And then it becomes more of a ball. And now look at this shit. Honestly, a lot of these logos like look pretty good. Like, wow, look at that. See, this one looks like it's got droplets of water on it or something. And this one actually kind of looks like Windows 98, which is really funny. And then look at this shit. Some consultants got fucking paid millions for this. Somebody got a big giant payday for making the Pepsi logo look like absolute shit. Same thing with the Chrome logo. Somebody got a fat payday for making it look bland and uninteresting. Somebody got a fat payday for making the fucking, like, for destroying the NBC logo, turning this into MS Now. Somebody got paid for that. Somebody, like, did diabolical work to, like, again, change. Even if it's just an aesthetic change, it's an aesthetic change that has real consequences for the way that people perceive the world around them. Something that sort of not creates, but cements a trend in the decline of social trust. What the fuck is that shit ass logo? This is what MSNBC is now. Even happened to meet the McDonald's logo. Wait, really? Let me see this. McDonald's logo over time. You're talking about... No, that's 2006. It would have to be a logo change more recent than that. Yeah, I was just going over how, like, Kayla Furry, welcome back. I was just going over how, like, how funny it is because I hate MSNBC because they fired my boy Mehdi Hassan for doing actual journalism. Yeah, make diabetes, that's true. Make heart disease. They fucking changed their logo from the actual, like, the NBC logo, like MSNBC, to this shit. And it's like, yeah, we're distancing our branding from NBC, the parent company, Pepsi logo. Yeah, we were just looking at that. Pepsi's got some good logos. Not the 1898 one. I actually don't know what they were doing with this one. And then this one is absolute shit. And I was kind of explaining how, like, this, I feel like this is a PDF for the logo. Hold up. Okay, let me look this up. Oh no. Okay, here, hold on. Let me side quest incoming? Yeah, this is a side quest. Pepsi logo redesign brand manual from 2008 is the most hysterical professional document I've ever seen. This will make you laugh your ass off by the time you get to the end. It actually starts out really cool, using the golden rule to begin a logo design, pulling from historic Pepsi designs, then becomes more and more pretentious and absurd as this million dollar document unfolds. Keep scrolling through and I can't stop laughing. Okay, let's start. 27 pages? Alright, shit, let's do it. I'm gonna hopefully this will contribute to my point, how, like, value, even if it's just the purely aesthetic value, it's useful to picture it here, is being removed from society by consultants who get a fat paycheck for doing so, and everything gets made worse, and this is simply a visual symptom of that. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Brand ethos. Okay. Wow, that's crazy. That There's the new logo. Okay. So, going origins of creative endeavors. Okay, 1910, 1970, 2009. What the fuck? Bro, this is lore that I did not... What the fuck is this? Golden rule to design a logo. Okay. That feel when you fail a physics or math degree and get stuck in a consultancy job. Bro, that goes... I feel like that's such a direct call out for the fucking people that made this document. Okay, so you got some shit. Yin and yang. This definitely pertains to Pepsi. Iconic geometry. Kind of looks like it's being eaten by a generative AI. A little bit, maybe. Okay. She's got different bottles. Okay, very good. Shape of the bottle. So far, so something. The fuck? Oh, interesting. Okay, so they're breaking down how the basic geometry, it gets so unhinged the more you read it. I haven't been reading super closely. Okay, so this logo, which I don't like so much, they maintained a lot of the geometry for the next logo. Okay. Perimeter oscillations. 1906. Pepsi geometry. Oh, is this where the fucking circle thing comes from? Oh, all right. We're starting to get into mental illness territory with how many circles you're drawing. All right, now you got that thing. Okay. That's a lot of circles, probably more than you need. All right. 1971. 1991. 1998. Okay, these are the logos that we've seen. Okay, towards innovation, projecting Pepsi's future, applying universal laws to establish a blueprint for the brand. Let me actually rewind and maybe read a little bit of this. I feel like I'm missing the lore. In convention to innovation. These people love fucking saying innovation when they're like destroying their company's branding or doing like any number of things that are objectively bad. Like none of this takes into account Pepsi death squads and shit. Okay. Investment in our DNA leads to breakthrough innovation, allows us to move us out of the traditional linear system into the future. Wow, they drew a line that goes in a different direction. Discontinued investment provides us with a clear resource for reinvention. I don't know what this is meant to convey, but all right. The vocabulary of... Oh my fucking god. Okay. The person that wrote this is barely a human being. The Pepsi ethos has evolved over time. The vocabulary of truth and simplicity is a reoccurring phenomena. Brother, you failed English. Is a reoccurring phenomena? My fucking brother in Christ. The singular of this is phenomenon. Singular. Eat shit. I'm smarter than you. It communicates the brand in a timeless manner with the expression of clarity. Pepsi breathtaking builds on this knowledge. I assume that's like the code name for this document. True innovation always begins by investigating a historic path. Going back to the roots moves the brand forward as it changes the trajectory of the future. Yeah, paid millions of dollars. Fucking middle school level spelling mistake. Universal design principles. breathtaking is a strategy based on the evolution of 5,000 plus years of shared ideas in design philosophy, creating an authentic constitution of design. This chart documents the origin and evolution of intellectual property. The classic projecting the capitalistic notion of intellectual property back in time. Little do these fuckers know that branding is something that predates capitalism, actually. Visual symbology is not something that capitalism invented, thank you. But given that this guy clearly didn't pass middle school English, I don't expect him to know that, I guess. Euclid, okay, yep, Euclidean geometry. People's brains cannot escape capitalism. Well, this guy sure can't, because he's the engine of capitalism. Fucking parasitic individual that drains value wherever they go and provides nothing. Derived from PepsiCo's rich packaging legacy. Okay. Revitalizes the essence of PepsiCo and creating an iconic shape for the brand. Brother, it's just a plastic bottle. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, then we have the geometry. Let me scroll down to where I was, which is the... Okay, this logo. Towards innovation, projecting Pepsi's future. Sounds like a high schooler just trying to make up something to get paid. Yeah, basically. This is some school project tier shit. Applying universal laws to establish a blueprint. Okay. Creation of identity, precedence. Artists and architects have proportioned their works to approximate the golden ratio. Okay, this is an actual design principle, yeah. Especially in the form of the golden rectangle, in which the ratio of the longer side to the shorter side is the golden ratio. They believe this proportion to be universally and aesthetically pleasing. The golden ratio plays an essential role in human perception of beauty. Okay. This is actually grounded in design principles. I'm imagining those two guys and the boys who proposed every ridiculous hyper-corporatized idea wrote this. Either that or they were really drunk. Yeah, basically. Again, art imitates life. Those two guys are a very over the top, but nonetheless accurate caricature of what marketing and marketing people and consultants are like in real life. Yeah, or both. It's possible you could both of those things could be true. This person's making more money than I can ever dream. Yeah, unfortunately. Sell your soul, you get a shit ton of money in return. Height and width of the Parthenon is proportioned to yield a golden rectangle. Leonardo da Vinci studied the proportion of the human face and applied his findings in the Mona Lisa painting. That is true. Da Vinci was also a mathematician, I think. Or was at least well educated in many different facets. Book format and page layouts are based on the golden proportion. The diameter of the Nautilus shell increases proportionally with the golden ratio. Another fucking spelling error. Golden ration? Golden ratio, dumbass. This picture kind of looks like schizo posting. Funnily enough, this is like the least schizo post part of this whole document, where it's like, yeah, we want to design a logo that basically adheres to the golden ratio. Here's a bunch of other famous things that adhere to the golden ratio and are aesthetically pleasing. To explain to a bunch of retarded, like, corporate board executives why you should do this. Starts with a square. Oh, this is the part. I imagine this is the part where it gets unhinged. Okay, the golden ratio starts with a square. The Pepsi ratio? Okay, we have entered schizopost territory. Starts with a circle. Draw a circle with diameter D equals A. Golden ratio, you mean like JoJo Part 7? Don't spoil it. I haven't read that one, and I intend to wait until it's like gets made into an anime or something. Find its center, draw two same size circles with diameter equals D equals 0.5A. Okay, yeah. Rotate the center line 45 degrees. Uh-huh. Copy one of the inner circles. So so this is how you create the golden ratio, beginning with a square. And so now... What the fuck? What the fuck? Hold up. I blinked and I missed it. Copy one of the smaller circles, place its center on the intersection of the larger circle and the rotated center line. Okay, so circle down there. Draw a circle that lies within the larger one. Its diameter is such that it touches all three circles in exactly and only in one point. I told you it was fucking awesome. Yeah, you were right. Hold up. Let me read this shit. I need to I don't know what they were cooking. Okay. Rotate the what? Wait, what is going on? This is getting more insane the more I read. You were right. That Reddit post was right. Touches all three circles in exactly and only in one point. What? Like, wait. Within the larger one. Which larger one? This one? Okay, yeah, I guess. Rotate the center line by 56 degrees? What? 50? That's so specific. Place the smallest circle with its center on the intersection of the largest circle and the rotated center line. Oh no. That's how they did that. The Pepsi brand is created by intersecting circles with a set proportion to each other. The coordinates are marked X. The Pepsi ratio is created by two simple circles that are in a set ratio to each other, the golden ratio. The Pepsi ratio is aesthetic geometry. This looks like just Pac-Man, but you're looking at him from an angle. What the fuck? Okay. This looks so much more schizo than the fucking square next to it. Okay, square. Uh-huh. You do that. Then you have a triangle. You kind of create this arc. Uh-huh. Keep reading? Okay, I will. There's the golden ratio there. Scales and dynamic relationships. What are they doing? Golden geometry of aesthetics, proportion. The golden ratio establishes a proportion of one part A relative to another B. Playing by these rules produces an aestheticism. I think this is just a misspelling of aestheticism. Again, failed middle school English. That is universally accepted to be in balance and harmony. The fuck? He's talking like fucking Tao or some shit? The Pepsi aesthetic respects these rules. The brand identity can be derived from two circles that have a set relation to each other. What? I can't tell. No, this is definitely... They burnt down the whole kitchen for this. I don't... Uh-huh, you have the squares and then you have the circles. Yeah, what if we did the golden ratio but with, like, circles? And that now you have... Oh, so this... Wait, this is the real Pepsi logo right here. This got the... You can see it in there? And they did this shit. Okay. What? What is this? Wait, how do you get... Okay. The Pepsi glow... What? Pepsi energy fields? What is going on? Dynamic forces. Okay, Earth's dynamo. I don't know how to pronounce. I assume it's dynamo. It keeps getting better. I told you. Yeah. Okay. From the perspective of some of the funniest shit I've ever seen, they were cooking. From the perspective of making a good logo, they were not cooking. A naturally occurring electric generator in fluid motion generates and sustains the Earth's magnetic field. The Pepsi globe. Magnetic fields exert forces on inner and outer surfaces of the Earth. Pepsi energy fields. Symmetrical energy fields are in balance. What the fuck? What is this? Magnetic dynamics. Magnetic field fucking typo. Again, go back to middle school. Are impacted by sun radiation. I'm gonna lose it, dude. This guy needs to go back to fucking middle school English before he gives me a goddamn Pepsi lore lesson. Solar radiation, magnetic fields, and wind motion. The Pepsi globe dynamic. Emotive forces shape the gestalt of the brand identity. What is he cooking? What are they cooking? I have no idea. What is this? Now there's emojis? What the fuck? This is some shit that I expect to see in like a horror movie where the Pepsi logo attacks you. What? Multiple perspectives. Uh-huh. You're looking at this circle from different angles. And now you... One identity, multiple emotions. What the fuck is being conveyed here? Haha, it kind of... Dude, you're right, Cryoraptor. I was literally gonna say that. This is like somebody smoked a fat joint, and this is what they came up with. What the fuck? You got emojis and like, haha, look, the Pepsi logo. It's like the emojis. The new... okay, it's all the faces again. Dude? What the fuck? What is happening? Creation of identity. A multi-dimensionalized brand? Motion transforms 2D to 3D. 2D circle to 3D sphere. What? Dimensionalized through motion. Somehow the fact that it's titled Breathtaking is the funniest part to me. Breathtaking. We fucking smoke too much. Pepsi-induced psychosis. I am gonna have fucking Pepsi psychosis after this. I can't even drink Pepsi because I'm allergic to caffeine. What the fuck is going on? Dimensionalized through motion. Huh? The fuck? What does this mean? This doesn't turn into this, right? Yeah, no, wait. What are they? This image doesn't lead to this. These are... I don't get it, dude. Color theory. Okay. Objective color, subjective emotion. Each color on the color wheel is associated with a subjective psychic and emotional value. Breathtaking color palette. The breathtaking color palette is derived using a scientific method of color assignment based on the product's essence and primary features. Essence is not a scientific... okay. You could just say based on like psychological associations drawn between certain colors and whatever the fuck. Cool Pepsi, cool fresh Pepsi Max. Isn't this the one that like failed? Like Pepsi Max? Isn't it the one they tried to introduce this and it was like flopped? Energetic balanced caffeine free Pepsi? The fuck? Cool, rich, fresh. Diet Pepsi is just gray. Pepsi Max is the most popular one? I didn't know that. It was another one? Oh, am I thinking of like New Coke or something? Oh, I know New Coke just fucking flopped. Am I thinking of a different kind of Pepsi? Cool, light, fresh. Caffeine-free diet Pepsi. Okay. So we got... I don't know why this one is yellow, but like I guess these other colors kind of make sense. Excuse me? Gravitational pull. Attraction theory. The Pepsi proposition. What? Blue Pepsi or something that was a massive L? Okay. Establishment of a gravitational pull to shift from a transactional experience to an invitational expression. What did they mean by this? What? There's Pepsi cans, like... Wait, this is just a shitpost. Look at this. Haha, you see, there's Pepsi here, and the straight line goes to the end of the aisle, but you see the gravitational influence of the Pepsi will draw the customer towards the Pepsi. What the fuck? Typical light path. Okay, typical shopping aisle? I'm gonna lose it, dude. Light path with gravitational pull. Yeah, okay. Gravitational lensing. Yeah. Gravitational pull of Pepsi. I don't... Wait, he's entering the... I'm actually cracking up, dude. He's fucking... I was not ready for this. He's entering the fucking Pepsi gyroscope. What is it? Is there... This reminds me of the fucking... is it that gyroscope or something that pilots train in? You if you're a pilot in training in the Air Force, right? Like, you step inside of the orb and they fucking spin you around. Is he gonna get inside the Pepsi orb and be fucking rotated into another dimension or shit? I mean, like, based on what they've been talking about, right? Holy shit. I swear, this shit they need to just submit this to the Onion without comment. And then, like, run it on YouTube. 10 squadrillion views. The Pepsi universe. What? The universe expands exponentially with f of x is equal to e to the x. Okay, yeah. 1 light year equals 671 million miles per hour. Okay, now we're introducing fucking cosmological equations. The Pepsi orbits dimensionalize exponentially? X equals 1 light year. Okay, Pepsi planet. X equals 2 light year. Pepsi galaxy. Okay. I need water. Yeah, somebody fucking get the straitjacket ready. I'm not gonna be fit to enter society by the time I'm done with this. X equals 8 light year. Okay. Pepsi universe. Uh-huh. That's it. They just end on that. Yeah, is this a fucking SCP? What is this? Pepsi planet. What does this mean? What did they mean by this? Planet? And then this says 1 light year? Taking into account this is from 2008, some Pepsi designers have said this document has gotten longer and worse. Can I see the longer, worse version, please? SCP that makes you more insane the more you read it. Please, do you know if the worst public version, is the worst version is like publicly available? I need that shit. I need it. I'm addicted to the fucking SCP that makes you crash out and die laughing. What is this? You start up here. Imagine someone gets a consultancy job at Pepsi just to see the extended version. Dude, okay, legitimately, I'm considering fucking like give me the fucking Pepsi consulting job. I need to see how bad this document is. I need to see that shit. We started talking about, okay, so some corpo bullshit. We started with like, okay, This is what Pepsi looked like in 1910, and then in 1970. What will it look like in 2009? Here's some, well, I'll be real, it's kind of insane the whole way through, but like, okay, look, here's some basic design principles that were applied to the early Pepsi logos, right? So it's like, you can still recognize that these are the same logo. And then over time, this is how it became like the ball with the swish and the thing. And then down here, they're talking about fucking Pepsi gravity theory. What the fuck? The Pepsi Fibonacci sequence? Pepsi gravity? Pepsi lensing of the light rays? The customer on the aisle? The Pepsi gyroscope sphere thing? Pepsi orbits? What is this? I don't know what to do with this information. I guess, I don't know. Look. God, this is funny. Somebody got paid millions of dollars to do this shit. Somebody got paid millions to like smoke weed or like more likely, I don't know, crack, shrooms, some shit. You have to be on some kind of trip to come up with like half the shit that's in this document. And then they submitted it to Pepsi, and they actually went for it. Like, this is the new Pepsi logo. This is the logo now. The fucking executives saw this, and they were like, yes, this is what I want, actually. What the fuck? Incomprehensible. Thank you. Have a nice day. This just shows how capitalism eats your mind away, tries to sell you something new. Yeah, like, okay. The fact that this drove like an entire branding shift is indicative of how vampiric the engine of capitalism is. But then it's also like, for some reason, it's just profoundly funny. Like, what? This belongs in a parody. It's beautiful. This belongs in a museum of satire, but it's not satire. Somebody made this in earnest. They published this to a room of corporate executives, and they changed the entire image of a company around it to like a worse version. This is, unironically, if you put the original logo here, this is a way cooler logo if you just have a bunch of small Pepsi logos in like an atomic kind of symbol than fucking this shit. Maybe the real SCP is capitalism. Maybe that's the lesson I need to be taking from this. This reminds me of the monarchs of the past, believing in stupid stuff. Yeah, you know, it is actually reminiscent of, you know how, like, fucking petrostate monarchs and whatever will commission these grand projects or whatever, by which they actually mean have somebody make, like, a 3D render of a futuristic city playground looking thing. They present it to them, and then they're like, beautiful, this is great, we must do this for our country, and then invest billions of dollars into those consultants that came up with it, and then like don't pay attention to the project again because they're just, you know, petrostate monarchs and despots over like a wasteland where there's no real civil society. This is like on the same tier as that shit, but it's like happening to a company that owns real things, or that like it's happening in a way that influences real production in a way. I don't know. You get what I'm saying? That like consultants are just on one, and they're like they're finding objectively creative ways to provide nothing of value to the world. That's probably the best way I can explain this. This is the most hilarious, inventive, creative, SCP-esque way that you can contribute nothing to society. This is like if USSR futurists got corrupted by greed. Yeah, basically. This is art, honestly. But also I feel like what this is advocating for, right? The end result of this is nothing being added to society. However, this itself I would consider a worthwhile, this document is a worthwhile addition to society, not the thing that this document resulted in. Does this make sense? This is the destruction of information? Probably. All right, that's it. Look, I don't know what even to title this segment or how to end it. I feel like I've crashed out over the fucking Pepsi Cola SCP. Lock that shit up in the foundation. I've been on this bender for long enough. End the segment there. This is going on YouTube. It's too fucking funny. Well, fuck. Bro, I don't even have time to talk about other shit. Label it Consultants Are on Meth? That would be a good title. Pepsi PDF SCP. Yeah, some shit like that. I don't know. One of those titles is gonna go hard. It's be like the fucking Pepsi SCP. The P in SCP stands for Pepsi. Someone needs to write an actual SCP based on this. You could just have the SCP logo right next to the document. Like the SCP logo overlaid over the Pepsi logo. That'd be great. Anyways, my last couple streams have been much longer than I wanted them to. Unfortunately, there's not going to be any gaming today, I don't think. Uh-oh, what happened? What is happening? Oh no. What is going on? My whole computer just froze. I don't know if anything is still working. I'm fucking mashing the Windows key. What is going on? This is the work of the Pepsi SC. I'm back. What is going on? I'm buffering too. I don't know what happened. Oh, what is my disk doing? What the fuck? Yeah, it's the Pepsi SCP. They got my ass. What is going on? What processes are even using this much disk? Nothing. Nothing is using my disk. What is happening? Okay, we're good now. All right. I'm done. I can't handle this anymore. I'm gonna go raid somebody. Sorry, I didn't get to the gaming today. Yeah, the SCP Foundation is going to try to shut me up. Okay. I'm gonna raid Hassan. I'll see you guys next time. Next time I will be gaming. I will have my Stormtrooper helmet on because we hit the follower goal. Thank you guys so much for that. Then I'll have to think of something else to do for like 300 or 400 followers or something like that. The Pepsi SCP virus has infected your PC. Probably, like, apparently. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.